Town Square Media Station. WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. A Town Square Media Station.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. Also can find us live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're at Martin Houston 35XL Sports. We're glad to be with you on this beautiful morning. Glad that you've chosen to make us a part of your morning routine. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, 205-342-9904. The Alabama One hotline is open for business. And as always, you can join us and chat us up on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Like, follow, share, and support the live stream. All you have to do that is scan the QR code located in the corner of the screen. We're glad to have you on with us. Give us your opinions. Give us your thoughts. We've got some great topics lined up for you today. But that's not all. We can talk about things that maybe is on your mind. We'll continue to carry over conversation from the end of the week, as we were talking about the quarterback avatar and what you're looking for an avatar in the quarterback position today. Is that a little different than what it was, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago? We'd love to get your thoughts on that. Give us your opinions there, as well as we'll talk about Nick Saban and the transfer portal. Maybe we've been doing something wrong in our calculations. Just crossed my mind as I saw Alabama got yet another transfer, increasing the total number post the transfer out portal. So does that present a problem for Nick Saban in the Alabama Crimson Tide? Another conversation we can add to our docket for today, putting in the playbook, is the way too early predictions, Alabama rankings falling. No one having Alabama pretty much in the top, none of the major having Alabama in the top four. Most have them 5 or 6. With few exceptions. Is that fair? Do you like that? Do you hate it? You think they're burying Nick Saban way too early, or is it legit concern? Should Kirby Smart be considered the top dog, literally, for yet another year? Having a prediction of 11 plus wins, over under on that. Alabama having 10 plus wins, over under on that. And also, Auburn Tigers 7, over under. Can they get 7 wins out of their schedule? We can talk about all of that good stuff, but you may have something else that's burning on your list as well. And of course, we'll kick off the conversation talking about uh, regional play and what's the big news coming out of Bama's campus right now regarding softball. But before we do that, we'll remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. I guess the first big news is good news, and I guess waiting on whether it's great news or bad news as Alabama softball, honored for I guess a season well played, um, getting a number 5 overall seed and hosting a regional. And you would have to think Bama is in good position to look to host a super regional in a typical situation, but don't yet know that as they have. Uh, you know, Getting a little feedback, Aiden, but the the beauty of it is, hey, maybe they're gonna get to host a super regional. But how you feeling without the news of whether or not Montana Fouts is going to be Montana Fouts?
Um, I mean I feel good regardless, but I feel better if Montana was 100% and we knew that already. But I have faith in this Alabama team to be able to pull things through. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward.
Yeah, I know, Aiden, you a little more in tune with it than I am. When you look at this, Alabama seems to have a fairly, especially if Montana Fouts is in and not out, um, you have to feel good about them making it to a super regional.
Yeah, you do feel really good if she's healthy. And let's be honest, Martin. The attitude of Montana Fouts is if there's any chance that she can put weight on that knee at all, she'll go out there with the world's biggest knee brace and a shot of Toradol and call it a day, because this is the end of her career. And it's not like there's professional softball that she needs to be saving that leg for. This is it for her. And one last chance, if they make it out of the regional, she gets one more chance to pitch in front of the home crowd at Rhodes. And we know about Montana one thing for certain, and that's that she loves these Alabama softball fans in this home crowd. I forget who exactly. Okay, yeah. So they're going to host Middle Tennessee, Central Arkansas, and LIU in the Tuscaloosa Regional. Now, Martin, I don't know about you, but unless we come out the way we did in the season opener against Lehigh, even without Montana in that first regional, I see Alabama softball making it out of this. Lauren Essman's a technically elite pitcher. Jayla Torrance is the best pitcher on this team, not named Montana Fouts. She's really, really, really progressed. And Alex Salter can get the job done too.
Yeah. And, Virgil saying Montana has actually been drafted by a pro team. And the women's softball is slowly gaining ground. I don't know much about the pro league. I know she has opportunity to play pitch for the U.S. team. So I don't want her to, even if she doesn't do anything post Alabama, I don't want to see her damage that wheel at all. And he seems to be optimistic. And as you said, it's kind of one of those things, man. Do you take a chance? go out first? X, you're calling the shots. What you doing?
I'm going to give it a go with trying to get through the
Yeah.
regional. Like I'm going to try. Like if she's not 80%, I'm gonna give it a try. If she's if she's 70%, 60%, give it a try. If she's in the 80 to 90 range, let her pitch, let her see if it can how well that leg can hold up. And if she can only give you 4 or 5 innings, that's better than nothing. And then you put one of the other pitchers in to finish it.
Which way you going? You starting her or letting somebody else start and see if you have to bring her in?
I'm going that route, actually. As much as I know Montana wants to get out there and pitch in front of the home crowd, as the number 5 overall seed, you're pretty much guaranteed a super regional if you get out of this. I think actually guaranteed a super regional if you get through this, and it's not a gauntlet you've got to run through to get out of this regional. So I'm gonna save her. I'm gonna put her in relief if she's 75, 80%, and we need her to go in there. But I'm not throwing her out there and risking re-aggravating whatever injury this is before we potentially have to face an actual softball juggernaut to get to the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, and in my opinion, and we'll move on and wish her well and keep you up to date on it. But in my opinion, it's not going to be pitching that loses you this regional with the 3 teams that you're up against. It's going to be whether or not you can generate manufacture runs against these teams. I don't see either of these teams, and that's just a brief look at these teams. It's not an in-depth, scouting report. Some of it's just name recognition, and then others just looking at a little bit of what they've done. They rewarded Alabama for the victories they've had over, I think they said 20 plus. I think it's 20 plus wins over top 50 RPIs. So, their ranking and strength of schedule. So I think they rewarded Alabama for that. And to your point, Aiden, if they get out of this, they will host a super regional, is what was reported. Like I said, I report softball on more of a this is what's being said more than me having the inside scoop on it. But I would not take a chance with her coming out of the gate. I try to generate some runs, and then hopefully the pitching holds up. We'll keep it going right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. Coming back on the other side, we'll talk about the Avatar. We'll talk about Alabama got another he is a grad transfer, I think, with this being his 6th year. And so either way, another transfer coming in to Alabama. How does it sit with the rest of the Tide? How does it sit with you? We'll talk about it right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we've got a wreck on the Mercedes International Speedway eastbound at exit 86. So you can expect some delays. Now, if you see other conditions, give me a call, 205-886-8886. Others are raising their rates. Townsend Nissan is lowering theirs on selected models. 0% up to 60 months at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Years ago, Jimmy Rain decided that the best way to advertise Great Southern Wood was through coaches. Gene Stallings, Pat Dye, Steve Spurrier, and myself, and many more coaches took to the radio and TV airwaves to tell people that if you're building outdoors, the only way to build is with pressure-treated pine, yellow wood. It is the very, very best. Why? Because all the coaches said yellow wood, pressure-treated pine, protects against bug, termite, and weather. Decking, fencing, play sets, whatever you're wanting to build, just go to the internet, look at yellow wood, and you will find these coaches advertised a great product. If it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, believe you me, you don't want it. It's yellow wood.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny today, a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. The high today 90, tonight's low 67. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds with scattered showers and thunderstorms around. Tomorrow's high at 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 69 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin Executive powered by MaX Sports. As we get ready to kick off the second quarter, we're going to be talking about Jalen Keith, UAB transfer from safety that is going to be adding depth, potentially a starter at the safety position. Is kind of interesting because he's a guy that only has 1 year of eligibility left. So what does that mean for the safeties in particular? Caleb Downs, Christian Story, Malachi Moore. What do you see Alabama doing with adding a guy of his talent level that's only going to be here for one football season?
Interesting. Once again, Nick Saban came out of the spring over the 85. And has added 3 players, since then. And with the addition of Buckner, based on our calculations with Hank South at Hank South 247 Sports, recruiting guru who joins us every Thursday, Buckner put us 1 over. Amos puts us 2 over. Key puts us 3 over. So that's the question I guess we need to answer as well. What does that mean? Who's out? We know who's in, but who's out? As well as, and if there's anybody out, maybe, the NCAA makes so many rule changes now that they don't even let us know. I was like, have they changed the scholarship total and I'm not aware of it, because Saban's just going out getting guys while he's already over. That's number one. Number 2 is the fact that they're bringing him in. I don't think you're bringing this guy in to not play him. Okay, does that mean that he's going to be a first day starter? Does that mean that they have different plans for a guy like Tristan Story? Think about what Alabama's had at safety, and maybe Malachi brings that to the table, but that Jordan Battle position has always been like the dog and one, other than Minka, for the most part, has been kind of one of the leaders. Branch was that guy last year. Battle was that guy last year. Is he bringing him in because he's really worried about the youth of Caleb Downs and Tristan Story's inexperience? Or maybe who knows? Maybe plan on doing something totally different. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, and I didn't even mention what this also could mean for Earl Little Jr. as far as the star position. I mean, it's a lot of things that can happen with Key coming in. I think he's a bigger addition or shakes things up more than even Amos coming in when you stop and thinking about it, because Amos could be a depth piece for year. You know, he's probably going to come in and compete for the position across from Kool-Aid. We know that side's locked up, but he has 2 years, which means he doesn't have to be the guy this year. You know, he could come in, compete, get some reps, and then be starting opposite of Terrion next year potentially. You know, you just don't know yet. But Caleb Downs, we think he's a stud. You think he's a stud. We think he's going to be a stud, and will be able to be a key contributor from day one. But is that what Saban wants this year? You know, because he's going to go through some bumps and ups and downs along the road through freshman year. We see it every time, no matter how talented the guy is, or is just a lot at that safety position with the Key coming in. I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out there.
Yeah, and looking at Key, does this mean? I get, when I look at it, I go, bringing in these guys. Do you think it means that he has more concern for safety, or does he have more concern for corner? You know, is this are the two moves more about safety or corner? Because Amos is a guy that's big enough to even play star safety. I mean, he's right at 200 pounds, and in Alabama's weight program, by the end of the season, I mean the season starting, he could be over 200 pounds. And so, is Nick Saban looking at more, not just we've kind of assumed it's Terrion Arnold's position to lose, but we focus so much on quarterback. Is it possible that Nick Saban has a lot of questions there? Number one, and if so, could Little be a guy that instead of him playing at that star position, could Saban be bringing in depth for the safety position? Could you see an Arnold, a Tristan Story moving down and becoming the second guy behind Malachi, and Little moving out to corner to give a little bit more size? Because if you think about it, Malachi is not a big dude, but he's the guy that's going to be called upon to do what? The safety, Saban
Cover tight
tight
ends, all that.
Before, does he want to move him back to even potentially move him back to even safety in the 5 set, and allow other guys to do that star position and maybe get a bigger body? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
The thing I could see happening, and this could be completely crazy, but I could see a complete shakeup of what we have in the secondary outside of really Kool-Aid. I mean, as you said, the big shakeup I could see is you got Kool-Aid at one corner. You see either Terrion or Earl at the other corner. And if it's Terrion, you could potentially see Trey, Amos, or you could see Earl in the slot. And then you potentially see Malachi and Jalen Key as your starting safeties. That's something that I think you could potentially see happen with the 2 moves that we've made. Instead of, might not see a lot of Story, might not see a lot of Caleb Downs. That would be shocking to a lot of Alabama fans. But that's the big shakeup that I could see with these 2 guys that you have coming in. Because you're right. I mean, Key's a big safety, 6'2", 210. Amos is a big corner, right? Like you said, just 6'1", just shy of 200 pounds already, and could easily be 205 by the time the season starts. So that's what I could see potentially happen is that type of shakeup. But it's going to be hard, in my opinion, to keep Downs off the field. And I think it's going to be hard to keep Story off the field because he's a guy that has, even though Saban has the model of bring somebody in, I'm bringing in somebody better. Well, who are you saying Key's better than? Is Key better than Downs? Is Key better than Story? Is he better than both of them? Is he potentially better than Malachi Moore? And that's why you're bringing him in so that you can keep Malachi in the slot. I mean, it's a lot of questions around these two moves. I think even more so than bringing Tyler Buckner in quarterback.
Do you which move do you think though presents the biggest problem? I mean, it, do you see like Caleb Downs clearly showed himself well uh, in the spring, new to campus. Um, do you see there being any way that he goes back to the bench by bringing this guy in? Tristan Story is a senior. Sorry, is a senior guy that I think um, I don't know what's going on, how he hadn't found his way onto the field. Um, do you see any way Caleb Downs is out? Because to me, it's a risky move. Uh, if Story is the guy that loses his spot, because you're looking at a true freshman being replaced by a first year guy, or Story, is he more likely to be the guy that goes out?
We've seen Coach Saban give guys that have stuck it out an opportunity. So that I think that'll play into it a little bit. And I don't, man, it's hard. It's hard to, and it really depends on what Key and Amos showed through the summer and fall camp. Like they could end up not being on the field at all because the guys that are already here show themselves to be worthy of being the guy on the field. So it'll be interesting. But I think it's going to be hard to get either one of those guys off the field. But I also think it's going to be hard to keep the guy that you just brought in off the field because you're bringing them here for a reason. And like I said, Key is more of a, if you just look at what you have, a plug and play, because like 100 times, he's only got 1 year of eligibility.
And the guys he's coming in and competing against, other than Malachi, I think this defensive backfield, I think this defensive backfield is extremely talented. I mean, when you start looking at the likes of Kool-Aid McKinstry, Caleb Downs, Terrion Arnold, and we just forget about Devontae Smith. I mean, 6 foot 194.
Yeah, who was out with an injury. Who was out this spring with an injury. So where does he fall into the rotation? You know, or is he a guy that you potentially lose to the transfer portal, having missed this spring with who you've brought in and the excitement around Caleb Downs? Like it continues to build. We're already over the number. You've got guys who are older in those positions that haven't played a lot. But you got young talent behind them. Like, where does it go? Is a Jake Pope a guy that potentially transfers out? You know, who showed flashes during the spring game, and he's got 4 years of eligibility left. So, like, where does the pendulum swing on who's leaving, who's staying?
Yeah, it could be an interesting time. Jake Pope, Earl Little, the second, Malachi Moore, Christian Story, Devontae Smith, all those guys. Like I said, big time. It's going to be interesting to see what Nick Saban does with those guys. Got a question for you to noodle on a little bit. Is one of those spots that we're worried about? Does the fact that Saban has taken 2 DBs speak a lot to the big safety, cornerback, all-around athlete. Does this mean that Tony Mitchell's future has been decided, just not announced? In terms, 6'2", 205 coming out of high school. And he wasn't even here. So does this mean that he's not going to be back on the team? That's a possibility. And let me ask you this, just to know, is it possible that Tristan Story is at Christian Story, is he possibly going to move to the other side of the ball? I mean, remember the guy's an all-time QB yard stats dude in Alabama. Is it possible that he could be the Blake Sims of Nick Saban's final last hurrah down the stretch? So I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at Story and all these guys and going, what's Saban up to? We can talk about it. I'll let you respond to that on the other side, X, and we'll also circle back. I do want to wrap up the quarterback conversation so that we can start the conversation on tomorrow talking about the avatar for running backs. So come back on the other side. I'll let you respond to the Christian Story dilemma. Is it possible he's going to be out? Is Tony Mitchell out? Is that one of the spots that Nick Saban's going to secure? If that is, where are the other spots that he's going to get us down to 85 at? More of that conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we've got a wreck on the Mercedes International Speedway eastbound at exit 86. So you can expect some delays. Now, if you see other conditions, give me a call, 205-886-8886. Others are raising their rates. Townsend Nissan is lowering theirs on selected models. 0% up to 60 months at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
You've probably seen their clothing around town on game days, but check out Christopher Mobley on the Strip. It's luxury game day apparel redefined. It's the only place in town where you can find Todd Hoops apparel. Clothing designed for the modern day entrepreneur, golf enthusiast, and athleisure fanatic. They've got Peter Millar, Fiore, Grayson, and Mizzen+Main. And if you haven't tried the Mizzen+Main dress shirts, you've got to. You can find them at 1410 University Boulevard on the Strip. Also, they've got a great e-commerce site at ChristopherMobley.shop. So check out Christopher Mobley, luxury game day apparel redefined.
From our home base right here in Birmingham, Alabama.
We are here treating patients from every generation
across the United States
and from around the world.
As respected industry leaders,
we are here
working hard for you
in an effort to provide you with
excellence in sports medicine,
excellence in research and education,
and excellence in sports injury prevention.
We are here for you, aggressively pursuing victory over injury.
Learn more at andrewsportsmedicine.com.
The universal truth of women's shoes. The cuter they are, the more they hurt.
You have to put your best foot forward, and if your best foot is an ugly shoe, oh my goodness.
Lisa Ann thought she had to choose between looking good and feeling good until she got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now I can wear the shoes that I've picked out because I like the way they look, not because they were comfortable.
Good Feet relieved her pain and her fashion dilemma. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. 800-712-8002. That's 800-712-8002.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. As we're finishing up the conversation with the transfers in on the secondary, you brought up an interesting point of Christian Story potentially moving back to the offensive side of the ball. What gives you a thought process that is something that could potentially happen?
I mean, if you're bringing in guys that don't really matter, I mean, not trying to be funny. I mean, like, if you don't have confidence in the guys you have, and you're going to bring in a guy you don't know in Buckner, why not, potentially look at a guy that that you believe is a leader. I think the things he's done shows that he's a leader, and that's a far-fetched thing. But it's just you go back and look at the young man's high school career, and when he signed here, I said, man, I really hate it for this kid because I think he will end up getting lost and never really find a position. He's really, really talented and gifted, but will he ever lock in on a set position? Now, that doesn't mean that he hasn't been behind some really good guys at safety or whatever, but I don't know. That was just a far-fetched thing of, if things are in bad a shape as the way too early rankings show, and of course our way too early rankings is that Alabama sits at number 5 or 6, and most teams will give their program's history to come into the season ranked 5 or 6, and then predicted to win 10 games or more. So it is third world problems at Alabama when we start talking about these things.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think he holds the Alabama state record, or he did at least when he graduated, for touchdowns and all-purpose yards. So definitely a really talented kid. I thought he would have ended up on the offensive side of the ball as a back or a wide receiver. So safety was kind of an interesting move to me. But the quarterback avatar, we got pretty deep into the conversation, but we didn't get all the way through it. And I know one of the things that I left off with was quarterback IQ and leadership, and those are things that you mentioned and Aiden mentioned. But we didn't really start to get into the physical attributes of or Aiden did a little bit. He said Peyton Manning type size and things of that nature Friday.
Long and tall, baby.
I don't necessarily, for me, I don't need a 6'5" statue, because loved Peyton Manning, grew up watching him the same as Aiden. Probably remember a little bit more of his career than Aiden does, but that is, in my opinion, being phased out of the NFL. And not saying you don't have big physical guys, but the big physical guys that are similar to that stature are now pretty athletic. I mean, you look at a Trevor Lawrence, you look at a Justin Herbert, you look at an Anthony Richardson that just got drafted. These are all 6'4" and up, 230+ pound guys. But if they need to tuck it and run, they can. So that's great. But I am perfectly fine with a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", that 220 to 225 range that can move. I want a guy that can move in the pocket, take off and get yards down the field when necessary.
Yeah, and I would say that the Justin Herberts and of the world are and Joe Burrows of the world are baseball pitchers who didn't just fall in love with pitching baseball and stayed athletic. And now they're quarterbacks, or they're that point guard that stayed athletic and just chose football over being a short basketball player. They chose to be a really tall quarterback because they are even the tall guys in that physique are much more athletic, and so that would be one of the decisions that words that I would use is athleticism or escapability. I don't. Ironically, the quarterback position has been so protected that escapability you would naturally assume wouldn't be as important at the pro level, but at all the other levels, it is. Because the quarterback has the ball in his hands so much more now. Where when I was coming along, if you ran 65 plays, 35 of them every week were going to be run plays. 25 was going to be pass if you were a passing team. Now is you run 80 plays and the quarterback has the ball in his hand 45, 50 times. Lots more. And so escapability becomes mission critical, especially at the levels before that. The other thing I would say is I think the dual threat nature, meaning that even though a guy may not be at the level of a Michael Vick, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts type guy, Jalen Milroe type guy, they are still a dual threat. And the irony of it is Ty Simpson was the dual threat guy coming out of high school. And so I think it's that you have to honor it. And Tommy Rees, based on what he did with Buckner at Notre Dame, seems to recognize that a quarterback in the run game can be a legit weapon, as Buckner had 80-something carries for almost 600 yards in his career at Notre Dame. So I would want some of that in there as well. Anything else you got on there?
I want a guy that we talked about the football IQ and everything, but to get a little bit more specific, a guy that knows how to make the correct reads, a guy that knows in that moment it's 3rd and 5. I don't have to, take the deep shot. But if there's a guy coming across the middle, hit him, get the first down, keep the chains moving instead of taking a risk like that. So I overall, my quarterback, the guy probably, I just throw out the avatar of the guy. The guy that I view the most important is a guy that's probably plays the game like an Aaron Rodgers, but a little bit more athletic. So give me Aaron Rodgers' mentality, the way he plays the game, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But give me just Jalen Hurts' level of athleticism. Because the reason I choose Jalen is because he's not a dual threat quarterback that's just going to run by you. But he can get down, get dirty, and get you 3-4 yards on a cube power play, stuff like that. So I think that would be my avatar. Aaron Rodgers' decision making with Jalen Hurts' athleticism and strength.
All right. When I look at it, I'm gonna give you like the things that we've listed. I'm gonna throw 2 more that ironically neither one of us has mentioned. Well, Aiden, do you have one you want to throw in real quick? Because you might mention one of these. Anything that hadn't been mentioned that you would like to throw in?
No, I think I'm with X on, especially that taller prototypical Peyton Manning type quarterback kind of being on the out and out in the style that the game's played today. I think he's absolutely right. You got to have somebody that can do a little bit of everything in order to run a modern offense efficiently. So that elite athleticism almost becomes more important than even, things like deep ball accuracy.
Yeah. And you almost hit on what I was talking about. 2 things that we didn't mention was pocket presence in arm talent, ironically. And that used to be like number one. Arm talent used to be number one, but Tom Brady showed you that if the routes are designed correctly, you don't have to have arm talent out the wazoo, because Tom Brady's arm talent has diminished over the years. He hardly ever throws the ball deep, but he can get you a couple deep balls a game. But he can make all the underneath throws and things like that. So his IQ and his pocket presence and his decision making has managed to keep him relevant, kept him relevant until he left out. One last one I'll throw out there is team player. Has the best of the team at heart. Is that what made the three guys that were here before Bryce Young and Bryce Young? Is that a strength that actually made them actually better? Because how many teams could go through what Alabama went through with having 3 first-round draft picks on their roster at the same time? And then even when you go away from that, you still had a first-year player that proved to be all that he was, hyped up to be on the bench behind a Mac Jones and Bryce Young. So you had 4 at some point. You had 3 at one time, 2 at the subsequent time, first round draft pick. Was it them all being team player, team first type of guys that made that all work? Because that could have been a firestorm if the character of those guys had been different. X.
When you look at all 4 of those guys, starting with Jalen, ending with Bryce, I don't think there wasn't a single player that would go to war with any of them. I think that they all knew how to lead their teams in their own respective ways. Their personalities aren't the same, but they all were like, hey, they had an ability to draw the team in and get the guys focused and listen and all push forward for one goal. Sometimes falling short, sometimes with Bryce and Jalen as starters and things of that nature, but still able to get national championships. Respectively, all 4 of them have at least one, no matter how it came during their time here. But they're not just team first guys, but they're team leaders that everybody believed in and wanted to go to war with. And I think you have that potentially here. Still, it's just going to be interesting to see how this summer plays out. Because there's one guy that I've seen taking steps to do that, and it's exciting for me because
we have five quarterbacks on scholarship. 5. And it's the one position that you're only going to start
in 4 starts.
In 4 starts combined. So here's the things we've listed. Coming back on the other side, we'll rank our quarterback room against these things. IQ, leadership. Most of y'all said leadership number 1. IQ, decision making, footwork, physical size, teamwork, or team player, team first type of guy. Level-headed, fearless, dual threat, pocket presence, arm talent, escapability, speed, and quickness. Those were all things we listed as an avatar. Does Alabama have a guy that stands out just based on these things, one over the other? We'll talk about it on the other side as we wrap up this edition of the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Thanks to the great folks over at Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value, under the biggest cactus in town. Go check them out for lunch and or dinner.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we've got a wreck on the Mercedes International Speedway eastbound at exit 86. So you can expect some delays. Now, if you see other conditions, give me a call, 205-886-8886. Others are raising their rates. Townsend Nissan is lowering theirs on selected models. 0% up to 60 months at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. The Physician Workforce Act, sponsored by State Senator April Weaver, has passed both chambers of the Alabama legislature. It attempts to quell the shortage of doctors in the state. Residency requirements for postgraduates of unaccredited medical schools would drop from 3 to 2 years. The shortage is thought to be anywhere from 280 to 500 physicians statewide. The bill now awaits Governor Ivey's signature later this week. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
When you or your family is in a car accident and injured, I've experienced it firsthand, and I highly recommend Stephen Mesrano, Mesrano Law. Call now, 205-800-8000, 205-800-8000.
Dead battery, flat tire, out of gas, have an accident? When your auto won't go and you need a tow, call a pro. Jeff's Towing, 75 Skyland Boulevard, 205-361-3997, 205-361-3997.
Is pain keeping you from living the life you love? The Good Feet Store's arch supports are designed to improve performance and alleviate, even eliminate your foot, knee, hip, or back pain. Stop into your local Good Feet store today for a free personalized fitting and test walk, or make an appointment at goodfeet.com. Try before you buy. You've got nothing to lose. The Good Feet Store, America's arch support exports, improving people's lives 2 feet at a time.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in for the 2-minute warning on the Martin Houston Show. 2-minute warning brought to you courtesy of Harvest Church, loving God, loving people. Sundays at 10 a.m. worship time, and also a special time of Bible study starting at 9 o'clock. I want to invite you to join us at Buell Baptist Church this Sunday night at 6 o'clock, as Harvest Church will be doing a joint service with Buell Baptist Church. Sunday, 6 o'clock. Looking forward to worshiping and ministering with Pastor Tim Patrick at Buell Baptist Church. That's Harvest Church, loving God, loving people. All right, X, when you look at our quarterbacks, which one of these guys jump off the page in terms of what we were saying, some of the top avatar things? Does one of these guys have more of these than others? And what is the guy that, if one of these guys does this, you say that he becomes the difference maker for Alabama?
Man, I don't know if any of them jump off the page more than the other in any type of way. I think when you look at the dual threat capability, of course you go Jalen, but I think Ty and Tyler can both bring that to the table as well. When you look at leadership, I'm not going to say any guy has stood out greatly so far, but you see Jalen so far doing things this summer, working out with guys. He had J.C. Latham, Elijah Pritchett, Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, and a couple other guys down there working out with him in Florida. Ja'Cory Brooks. So, he's working with who a lot of people think could be some of the top wide receivers. Football IQ, I probably would lean a little bit Buckner because of the experience that he has. He's played the most out of these guys. But then you look at Ty, and he's a coach's kid, so he probably has a different view of the game and with the way he's grown up from these guys. So, I mean, there's things size-wise, they're all relatively around the same size. So none of them stick out there. So you see where some areas one guy stands out, another area another guy stands out. So no, not yet. But I think the pocket presence, I don't know who's got the best pocket presence of these guys because I haven't seen enough from them. This quarterback room has a lot of potential, but it's unrealized potential right now.
Yeah, I'll say it like I always tell people, somebody asks me, who's the best fullback ever play at Alabama? I say Turner Houston, meaning that you combine Kevin and I together and we were the complete fullback. And that's what I would say in this is you probably have a complete quarterback room. The problem is you have certain things missing. My top 5 is IQ, leadership, decision-making, dual threat, and then ultimately, like team first type of guy. And I would say that the guy who has the highest potential is, based on mine, is Jalen Milroe. If Jalen can get the IQ down and show that he has that pocket presence, I think the guy's ability is unbelievable, X. And so, but I also think that Ty, if he shows leadership, I think Ty jumps ahead of him. Buckner, I don't know yet, but I think Buckner's experience and all of that and his gunslinger mentality has to be brought under control. We got about 15 seconds, X. Give me your response and we'll get out of here.
I agree with all of that. Jalen probably has the highest ceiling, but Ty could potentially, because of where he is from the throwing standpoint, take the lead. It's going to be fun to watch.
Who's your guy?
Jalen Milroe is my guy.
I got Jalen's job to lose, but I would not be surprised. And hey, don't forget about agent guy Eli Holstein. Hey, I'm Martin Houston. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Have a blessed, prosperous, and successful day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.